you're watching Marketing Tip Tea Time. I'm your host, Aaron Zimola, and today we have a very interesting guest that I am really excited to jump into the interview with. It is Kirk Visola. He is an amazing graphic designer and packaging designer who has worked with our season sponsor, which is Whole Brain Consulting. Whole Brain Consulting is an outsourced operations consultancy that specializes in the consumer products industry, providing solutions catered to your production. Services include QA, QC, supply chain, operations, logistics, R&D, and private equity due diligence. And now, everybody, please help me in welcoming Kirk. Here we go. Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing really well. So everyone,
Good.
Kirk is the founder and creative director of Mind the Font. Kirk loves simple and clean design, great coffee, delicious cocktails, and taking long walks through his favorite video games. Kirk is also a creator and a conceptor, passionate about any job he does. And so this is him,
Aaron's
everyone.
Aaron's passionate about reading.
I am. I just love reading. So I'm actually, I actually have a book that I found that I'm just going to read over the entire time, and you can interject whatever you want. Oh my gosh.
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1, in the beginning. So we actually could not nab the same tea that Kirk has. Kirk said he has essentially 80 tons worth of this tea right here, which was for the holidays. We could not find this tea. So we actually do have a Celestial Seasonings ourselves, which is right here, which is the peppermint, which was also for the holidays. And so I'm going to go ahead and pour a little bit into my tea cam. Let's see if we can get a nice toilet bowl shot right in the tea cam. There we go. Perfect. Ooh. Okay. I'm going to try mine, and you can try yours. And cheers.
Salud.
Oh, that's hot. Yeah. Mine's very pepperminty. I'm sure yours isn't. Yours is sugar cookie.
No. Yes. It's very deliciousy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man,
and if you're just...
So here's the thing. All right.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, this thing before COVID, we bought this tea, and there's Sugar Plum Fairy, there's Ginger Snap, there's all kinds of Celestial Seasonings. Shout out Celestial Seasonings. Fam!
Woo!
But I got
if you're watching, drop a sponsorship.
Yes. Seriously. But the Sugar Cookie Sleigh Ride is what I bought, and I fell in love with it. I'm not a huge tea drinker. My wife, we literally have about 40 teas in our cabinet that she goes through. And I'm just not a huge tea drinker, but this is my shit. So whenever she's making tea, she's like, "What would you like?" I said, I'm gonna branch out. Maybe Sugar Cookie Sleigh Ride. And I liked it so much that I bought literally a case. I haven't even started the case yet, but usually in the store, you just buy it there, and it's like at Target for $2.50 marked down on clearance for $2.15. I'm like, fuck yes, I'm buying all it. I hope I can cuss. I'm sorry if I'm cussing. And
we're fine. Yeah, Brandon's watching, so I'm sure he's frowning.
Brandon is a saint. Brandon Hernandez of Whole Brain Consulting is a saint. He does not cuss. He doesn't drink.
Definitely he doesn't.
Shit, he does cuss and drink.
Oh my gosh,
that's funny. All right, he was saying it should be called Whiskey Time, and I have to agree.
We could do that. We could have an after hours.
There you go.
There we go. And then we won't have it at 2:22 p.m. on a Friday.
Why not? It's always 5 o'clock somewhere.
It's going to be earlier. We're going to, wow. Okay, well, great tea. I'm sorry I don't get to experience your tea with you today, but my tea is like drinking toothpaste. So
refreshing. Hot and refreshing.
I feel my breath is amazing right now. So we're gonna dive a little bit into you. We have some questions here, and the first round is just going to be rapid fire. So I'm going to ask you a question, and it's just boom, 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 boom. Don't think about it. All right, first question. Instagram or LinkedIn?
LinkedIn.
Favorite graphic design software?
The Adobe Creative Suite. It's like all kinds of shit, like Photoshop, it's the standard, right?
Yeah. Marvel or DC?
Ooh, that's a trick question. Okay, so I'm a huge Batman fan. It can't be a repetitive question. So, huge Batman fan. Their stories, I think their characters are better, but Marvel, as far as like continuity and movies, is crushing it, killing it. Which I fucking hate those terms, but they really are. Right. I'd have to go. Marvel gets the edge, although Batman's my
wow. Dude. Okay, all right, and then now this is no longer kind of that rapid fire, but how did comics have an impact on your current career?
Oh, dude, it's very interesting that you asked that question because I don't think I'd be doing graphic design without comics. I've always been creative. Like, I've always been a creative and always wanted to do things outside of just drawing and everything else. But comic books had everything in it. It was layout, it was color, it was illustration, it was words, it was stories. And it was all put together in a certain way, and the composition just really spoke to me. I had no fucking idea what graphic design was until I got into my early 20s, right? And so I figured out from there that I really like this, and I know what I'm doing with it, so let's pursue it. And I just happened to have my wife at the time, her dad, or my girlfriend at the time, who became my ex-wife, too much information, at the time, became my mentor, and he still helps me out on occasion when I ask for help with things. And he was at E&J Gallo Winery for 40 plus years, super duper talented guy. So I had a mentor in that, and also, long story longer. The fact that there aren't that many people of color, BIPOC people in the creative field, especially 30 years ago or 20 years ago, really speaks volumes. God, I've been doing this for a long time, 20-something years. Fucking old.
Wow.
But yeah, so yes, comic books played a vital role, as also you can see behind me on the walls.
Wow.
That, definitely played a video. Yeah.
So you've been doing this for like as long as I've been alive, essentially. So that's I'm
don't feel old, you old motherfucker. But you've been doing this for a long time. Well, how old are you, man?
I'm 25. Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, I started when you were 3. So that makes me feel good. So happy Friday, you young bastard.
Yeah. Well, with that, Brandon says hello. Like I said, he's watching, and he has a question for you. And he is our season sponsor, and you've done some work for him. So I think we're obligated
Fuck that guy.
To ask this question.
I ain't gotta answer shit from him.
The question is, what's your creative process and what makes you so successful? And how did you start and why? And, who are you? Where are you going? All of the basic questions from Brandon.
Okay, so from a young age, I did not know about graphic. I mean, I told you basically where I started getting graphic design, but I've always been into comic books. Got into it. That's how comics influenced me. Getting into graphic design, and the creative process is so different for everybody. For me, it often starts with a conversation, just getting to know someone and what I'm doing. If I'm working with a client, if I'm just being creative, ideas just come to me and I just go with them. So if I wake up from a dream, I'll literally get up and sketch something out. And I've had times where I've woken up the next day and been like, "What the fuck is this?" And oh shit, it was this dream I had, and all these things come back to me. But so the creative process is different for everybody. A lot of times, for me, I always start with a pencil and paper and just start sketching, and like various pieces of chicken scratch around here. But I continually just sketch, and so it's always just crap in my head. I mean, it's a nightmare in my brain. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind. But the creative process starts for me by struggling with the concept and figuring it out. But then I'll go in, if I have a brand strategy, if the client gives me that or whatever, I'll go in, I'll research keywords, research ideas and things of that nature, internet search keywords and see what comes up and see if that sparks something, and then just go from there. I'm not sure if I answered the question, but
No,
like
that's
I talked a lot.
Right, that answered it in my mind. Brandon, did we do a good job out there?
No, fuck Brandon.
Question number 3 now is from Peter Romero. He asks, what do you see as the defining graphic design trends of 2022, and what things do you see as getting less popular?
It's so difficult to answer these questions. Oftentimes, though, what is cool and current is what is now. So right now, there's a ton of minimalization going on. Like, less is more. And even like in fashion, everything else, they're kind of starting to really calm things down and simplify. And that's really been a trend. But it always turns. I mean, like things from the 90s are becoming more popular, like hypergraphics, hypercolors, like those real bright fluorescent yellows and greens and everything else is coming back. Even fashion trends are coming back with high tops that are not tied, and just all those weird different trends and things like that. So that often plays into the graphic design field. But even you see companies like Burberry, right? If you look at Burberry's old logo, it was like this beautiful ornate serif font, and their new logo is just like this straight sans serif. So the reason oftentimes things that happen in design is to make sure you capture your audience's attention and do it in a quick way where it doesn't take that long to recognize things. Before, I used to always say you're designing for a billboard. I've been doing this for a long time. Billboards were static back in the day. Like, they didn't change. You saw a billboard, and then you're going to see it for longer, right? So only when you see it longer than 3 to 5 seconds was if you're stopped in traffic, but that was the thing, 3 to 5 seconds. Now it's like half a second to a second. Because people are scrolling through Instagram. How many times have you fucking stopped on an ad? Right? How many times is the ad, when you're scrolling through, kept your eye? So as designers, our job is to break through all the bullshit and give something to somebody that is eye-catching, that really pops. And I think that the simplification of things is just going to keep happening because we have so much stimulus around us through our phone, through everything, that we need something simple for our eye to rest, just to relax and take in information at times. So the simplification of design, I think, is going to be a really big trend. You're going to see a lot of simple stuff. This is it. Either super simple or super chaotic with no, like just things everywhere. Like with no, just to kind of get your eye to catch and stop. Like, what's wrong with this, or why is this so simple? Seriously, like that's our job.
Key. And so, how simple do you think we're going to get? Are we going to end up being the white canvas that sells for a couple million, or where is that headed?
I really think that NFTs are kind of starting to do things like the metaverse and NFTs, and even though that Zuckerturd went off and did his own thing with the metaverse.
We're on your. No, I'm just kidding.
He had a point, but he went in alone and didn't get all the information necessary, not even for his branding, and it's just whatever. So that's going to go a different direction. NFTs and things like that. People want something that's personable, but also they want something that isn't too crazy. So if it gets into like the fine details of where you're actually studying art, it's different than when you're trying to get someone's attention. Like if you go into a museum and you see a piece of art, you're going to sit there and look at it. If you're walking down a grocery store aisle looking for a bottle of wine or a package of fruit or whatever, I want to catch your attention there and make sure that you pop out, because I have to stand out that way. When people go to see art, they're going to see the art and actually pay attention. When people go to actually purchase and buy things, they're looking at either A, something familiar to them, or B, something that catches their eye. So yeah, I'm glad I answered your question.
No, that's really fantastic. No, it was great. I mean, so simplicity is becoming really important, which ties into this next question, which is how do you balance the quality of the design of a packaging specifically, and then the cost of that packaging, and how would simplicity play into that? And this is from Daniel James.
Forward for Leeds United in the Premier League. I love Dan James. He also plays for Wales. And I'm kidding, totally different Daniel James.
No, it's that one. No, I'm just kidding.
Someone interjected. Different guy.
Sorry, different guy.
Yeah, I know. I'm teasing. What was the question again? I'm sorry. Say again.
Oh, yeah. So
I heard Dan James, and my ADHD took over.
how do you balance the design of packaging and the cost of packaging and having that quality? And how would that simplicity play into that then as well?
I think you have to know what your budget is. Like right off, what's the budget for this? Are we using an existing die line? Well, a die line is a mechanical file that you get that you put into a program to where you know where everything lays out and all that stuff. So are we using the same structure? Are we trying to save things? Are we changing the structures? So all the different parameters that go into the actual packaging itself and printing are different than the design. A design for me is my time and talent. That's what you're paying for.
Right.
There really isn't a ton of overhead in regards to not a ton of cost in regards to making stuff, like making a product initially for a design for the actual aesthetic. If you're getting into what is printed on or how it's being printed, you need to talk to people who are structural. You need to talk to the actual printer. You need to see what the parameters are, what the special foils are. Then there's actually people who specialize in structural packaging. Evelio Matos, like EVELIOMATTOS, he is a packaging designer, like an actual package designer. Right. So he makes up packages and boxes. He's fucking dope, like really, really talented dude. Check him out if you want to learn more about packaging from that standpoint. I'm the one that makes it look pretty. So the combination of trying to make it look pretty and also have it work well to fit the budget and parameters are totally different. And in regards to being eco-friendly and all those things too, you really have to make sure that you're staying on standards with that. And most printers, a majority of printers, are now really, really socially conscious because they all know how important it is. So there's different organizations and different parameters that they follow in order to make sure that their inks and their papers that they use are sustainable and also viable. Someone was saying that everything's sustainable, but not everything is recyclable or something. I don't know, but they're working with it too. So it's a real. I could speak on that for literally 20 minutes. It's just a loaded question.
So it seems like there's a lot of moving parts going on with the actual graphic design on the packaging versus the physical design of the packaging versus all of the different players for printing and potentially getting plastic molding and all those types of things that go into the package then. Complex.
Absolutely. And yeah, totally complex. It is. It's funny, but when you just pick something off the shelf, most people don't think of what went into it. Like they look at it and say, oh, that's cool how that changes color, how that's a holographic, or how this is raised, or how this is embossed, or whatever. But you don't really think of all the time that went into making sure that package was printed properly and being displayed properly and all that. So yeah, a loaded question. Thank you, Daniel James. Yeah, good luck with your World Cup qualifiers next month in Wales. So.
Oh my gosh. And so our next question comes from Josh French, and he asks about attention to detail. So he says that attention to detail seems really paramount and so important in your line of business and in your company. How do you cultivate that sort of focus in your company and with other people who might assist you on projects? It's so difficult for me, like straight up. Like no joke, like attention to detail is super hard for me. And what I have to do oftentimes is make a checklist, or physically write things out for me to actually go over, look at the file to make sure I'm doing it properly, make sure everything's set up before I hand it off to someone else to work on. And if I'm working with someone, more often than not, they're usually way more organized than I am. Just because I'm kind of more of the creative person. I'm the person that was, that sketches all the time and that does things and wants to create and do these things. But then when it gets down to it, it's like, all right, now it's time to do this. Fuck. Okay, I really need to concentrate. I need to make sure that all my colors are right. I need to go through the color book and make sure all my swatches are in there. And I need to make sure all the die lines are right, make sure all the bleeds are there, make sure all the images are saved properly in the proper mode, make sure that I'm talking to the printer to make sure that the die line's right, because sometimes the die line gets changed. Make sure I know where a label's actually being put on a bottle and give them the height. It's like there's so much shit that goes into every different aspect. Wow.
Because printing a chip bag is different than printing a bag of chips is different than printing a box of crackers, is different than printing a soda can, is different than printing a wine label, is different than printing a cardboard deco box. Like they're all different. So you have to figure out exactly what you're working on and get in that mindset of no longer being creative, but really focusing on that detail of making everything proper and line up straight and all that shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
So essentially, it's lists really help you out then, kind of like the pre-flight checklist and then the in-flight checklist while you're going.
I have a little list.
Oh wow!
It's my
For those of you listening, he's holding up a list to the.
Yes, it was a dry erase board. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's just right there, and I look over at it, and it's just like it's like the ever ominous cloud over you. Like this is all the shit you need to get done, but it's there. Right. So it's like
That's
okay,
great,
do you need to get this done? You start. Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse, so to speak.
Okay. Wow. That's great. There you go, Josh. He's in our studio right now.
What's up, Josh?
Yeah, he says up. All right. And then our next question is from Melissa Youngval, my wife. She says, with your quality of work, I know. Oh, thank you. We needed another question, and she submitted one. She asks, with your quality of work, how do you balance creative flow and then the business aspect of things, like meeting deadlines, client expectations, all the businessy, project managey kind of manila folder stuff? How do you balance those two aspects?
It's really difficult to do, just because I truly enjoy. Okay, real talk, rough having a rough time as of late because of all the shit going on between from, let's put it that way, from George Floyd to Russia invading Ukraine, like and like the shit sandwich between all that, right? Like that's what I've kind of been dealing with psychologically and mentally. So I really have to focus and get in the right state in order to be creative. And in order for me to find that creativity, I kind of just have to do things. And oftentimes the business aspect of things, the project management aspect of things will kind of go to the side. The one thing I really try to hold fast to is the timeline, is the deadlines, because let's be real, all right? It's fucking design. No one's going to die. It's overall the grand scheme of things. Seriously, the grand scheme of things is like nothing bad will happen if I have a typo on something. I might lose a client, I might lose some money, but no one's going to die. Now, anyone listening to this and hearing this saying, "Oh, that's a terrible attitude," but it's a real attitude. My wife is a speech therapist, and she deals with people who are overcoming strokes, who can't talk, who are suffering with dementia, who've had brain injuries and head injuries, and they literally are in the process of learning how to walk, talk, and are on their way to their deathbed. And so that really taught me a perspective. With that being said, when I work on a design, I want to have as much fun as possible, and I love doing it. But the deadline itself, I need to make sure it's there, because sometimes, and Brandon can attest to this also, Brandon and Whole Brain Consulting, they are specialists at doing co-pack and co-man things. They're really great. I'm saying that because A, they're your sponsor, but B, I really love Will and Brandon. They're awesome dudes.
Yeah.
But there are production runs. So there's a production run of when you have a line that's going to get printed of the film of the chip bag that you're working on. But then there's also the chips that need to go into the bags. So you have to make sure that those are printed in enough time for them to dry, to be formed, in order to go to the line where they start filling the chips and they start forming the bags. So if you miss that deadline, especially now, you could be missing out on like 6 months. And if you don't have the artwork done or anything done, you can really fuck over your client and make it really bad for them, and even more so bad for you from a business standpoint. And people are like, "Oh, I'm not going back to mind the font. They fucked me over on whatever, and they were slow and blah, blah, blah." So that is the one thing I really pay attention to, is the timeline. Invoicing, I was told this by someone who's pretty wise, who also sponsors the show. Invoice every week is what he said. Take care of your invoices every week. That's the business side of things. Oh. I'm fairly good at I'm fairly good at marketing, like just by going on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn over Instagram, and I'll post things that I've done, or just try to stay active and keep me on people's radars that, hey, I do this for a living, and I do graphic design, and I do packaging design and branding design, and it's such a cornucopia of work. It's not just making a sales flyer, it's not just making a sales sheet, it's building brands into something that's more that will be equitable to them. So the marketing we talked about, the business side from invoicing, deadlines, timelines, and also the creative. I hope I answered your wife's question
That's the question. That's the question. And, we have one more question for you after that. So essentially, balancing is tough, it sounds like. And so then this next question is kind of a fun one. Tell me a little bit about your shirt. What you got going on here?
Oh, yeah. I have my own. I have my own clothing line, and it's VSLA brand, Visola brand.
That's awesome.
So the shirt's just a Visola shirt, yeah. And then I have a hoodie that says VSLA on it. Yeah, it was one of those things where I was talking about being creative. I just had this idea of doing something just for me. It's not kirkvisola.com, it's not mindthefont.com, it's just Visola brand. And on there, I have wearables, I have, there's a spot in there called the thought spot. So it's like a journal I keep. If I'm feeling down, I'm feeling however, I just write and then I post it there. And it's just fun. And then I have a wearable section. I started doing hoodies and shirts.
Is it kind of like cathartic for you there it is. We pulled it up.
It is.
Yeah.
We have to use the word cathartic. Is that today's word is?
Yeah. Phil, do we have time to put the word today?
So it's my own site, and and I started repping my own gear. I figured I need to start doing it, so that's why I'm wearing this shirt.
Yeah, it looks great. And I
Thanks.
totally messed up your name earlier. I forgot to ask you how to pronounce it. Visola, everyone.
That's Visola, whatever. It's me. Oh, and it's trademarked. My last name is trademarked, Visola.
Wow.
So it's pretty fucking cool.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Go check out his website. Go check out his work. This is Kirk Visola, who we've had on Marketing Tip Tea Time today. Thank you to Brandon Hernandez and Whole Brain Consulting for submitting your name to be a possible guest today, and then also for sponsoring the show. Thank you to all of our partners and all of our people who work on the show, including Josh French, our in-studio producer, and Phil Van Drunen, our technical producer upstairs, Peter Romero, who does our lights and who does our graphics and our sound. Thank you to everyone, my parents, who gave us a lot of the stuff you see on the set today. And, and thank you once again, Kirk. We have learned such a huge amount from you. You were real, you were personable, authentic. We love that, and some great advice that you've given us. And although I can't, partake in your tea, I still love the tea that I've got. Everyone, please go like, share, follow with anyone you think that would get something out of this show. And we're just really thankful that we are on season 2. Season 3 is coming up, and not too long. So thank you again, everyone.
Yes.
Until next time, Nastravi.
They're playing you out like the Oscars.
Cheers.
Playing you out like the Oscars.
See you later.